Well, hello and welcome to the Informed Traveler Podcast, a weekly travel podcast where our goal is to help you become a more informed traveler. And I'm your host, Randy Sharman. My co-host and travel expert, Onanta Forbes, is sailing on the Sapphire Princess this week, stopping at various spots along the Mediterranean. So we'll catch up with her in a few seconds to get the highlights. And then we're going to dive into the world of dark tourism and talk to the author of a new book called Vacations Can Be Murder, a true crime lover's travel guide to the mid-Atlantic states. It's the second of a multi-volume series covering the U.S. and beyond for those who enjoy reading about true crime, law enforcement, the paranormal, and tombstone travel. It should be interesting. But first, let's kick things off chatting with travel expert Onanta Forbes, who joins us each week to discuss some of the travel news and travel trends. You can follow her adventures on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. OnantaForbes.com is her website. Hello, Onanta, from the Sapphire Princess, if I'm correct.
Yes, you are. Absolutely. So we finished up our stay in Sicily, and then we are on a back-to-back on the Sapphire Princess through the Med. But before I go there, I just thought I'd just share with you some logistics of leaving Sicily and making our way to Rome to get to our ship. So I think we've talked about it in the past with regards to it's always nice to have private transfers. And that's what we did because we had to go from Syracuse to the airport in Catania and then the flight and then from the flight to Rome and then a transfer to the port cruise city, basically, because Rome is not at the airport where you pick up your cruise. It's about 50 minutes away. So it was good for us. Like as a travel professional, we work with different companies, almost like brokers, to get our transfers for our guests. And I've used Project Expedition a few times, and they're really good. But, you know, in this day and age, when you travel, you need a mobile device or a smart device because everything's kind of reconfirmed by WhatsApp, by email, when you're en route. So you have to have access to Wi-Fi and you know, things happen. There's flight delays. There's maybe you don't really realize where you're supposed to meet the transfer person. So you do need your mobile device or a smart device. So think about that because I know there's still some holdouts in this world that don't have one.
Yes, there are, and it's I don't know how you function.
Really. So we made our way to an overnight before the cruise because it's very important that you don't miss your cruise, right? So always try to be there ahead of time. And we stayed at this great little hotel called Hotel de Ville, which is definitely used as a cruise stopover hotel. And then the next morning, I actually didn't have a private transfer, but it's easy enough to get either an Uber or through the hotel. It's about 15 euros per person, but it only like a 10-minute drive from the hotel to the cruise ship. And we are on the Sapphire Princess. It's a classic mid-sized cruise ship that carries about 2,700 passengers. And this sailing is completely full. There are 2,700 passengers. It's and you know what I didn't realize when I booked it way back when? This is the start of spring break, no matter, well, not no matter where you are, but it depends on where you are. It could be or could not be spring break. And a lot of people are looking maybe not at traditional spring break destinations and going elsewhere. So it is a very busy ship. It's what I've noticed about it, because at the start of our winter getaway, we went on Region, which tends to be a more mature clientele, not many kids or families. This one has families, multi-generational. So not a lot of families, but still families. It's a traditional princess ship. It's so lots of lounges and bars. The heart of the ship is like a three deck piazza atrium, and this is where people gather for live music and drinks. You're going to find multiple pools, including a covered one, but it hasn't been pool weather. Today was not bad, but it is springtime in Europe, so it's between 15 and 17 degrees Celsius. You have hot tubs, a spa, a large theater for shows, and a handful of specialty restaurants, which, depending on your package, if you choose to take a package, could be included or could not be included. So you
Mm.
just have to think about that. The first day was a sea day, so it's a good day to just kind of relax and, depending on when where you're flying in from, maybe get over some jet lag, and just get to know the ship a little bit. So, as I said, families and multi-generation groups are on board. There are kids clubs, there are family cabins, and it's good service. Has structured dining, and I haven't sailed on Princess in a while. And what struck me was the staff. They're very casually dressed now, like it's sweatshirts or golf shirts and perhaps jeans or a really relaxed look. So
Hmm.
it's not as formal as when way back in the day cruising kind of came to into
Uh-huh.
play.
Yeah.
And it's this sailing is a combination of a 7-day and a 14-day itinerary. So it's actually wrapping up for some people. Then they're going back on Sunday, and then and I'm carrying on. So just to tell you some of the places that we've been to date, we went to Albania, and I've never been to Albania before. Sarandi, it was really interesting. What was interesting, and I don't know whether, sometimes atmosphere plays a part in how you have an impression of someplace, but
Hmm.
it was a gray, drizzly day and it was a tender, very smooth sailing, but you learn about the country that it's out of it used to be under a communist rule for 30 years,
Yes.
and it has it's not a colorful destination. Like some of the places have been rebuilt, but it's been rebuilt in very concrete white or beige looks. But you do have an opportunity to go to a national park, and you get to see where they had some Greek ruins and Roman structures. But it's very peaceful. It's surrounded by forests. Um, and it's quite lovely right now to be touring Europe because it's still busy, but it's not going to be crazy busy like it's going to be in July and August and hot. So this
Hmm.
is a good time to come. The other place we went to was called the Blue Eye, and this is where it's water. It's crystal clear. You can actually see the source bubbling up from the deep underground. Um, and the color is amazing. In some places, it's almost like emerald green. It is a natural phenomena and something that they bring you to come to see. And then we went to a castle. It's a 16th century fortress that sits high above the city, and the view is amazing. You can see all the surrounding, the Ionian Sea, and even in the distance, the island of Corfu. So it was quite lovely. And then heading back, we just walked along the promenade, which was easy to get to the boat. But it is a tender, but 10 minutes smooth sailing for us that one day. Now, the next day, and I've been here before, but it was such a long time ago, I actually had to refresh myself. We went to Olympia, Greece. So another destination, another country. So we went with Venture Ashore with this shore excursion to Olympia. Only 6 of us on board, so it almost felt like a private tour. And you kind of see the other tours where there are big bus loads. So this is the site that's dedicated to Zeus. And you're walking through the birthplace of the Olympic Games. We had what they called a escort that took us on to the bus and then took us to a place where another person who is licensed to present the attraction, like a tour guide, show you it. So it was quite interesting. This lady, quite lovely. She used to be an archaeologist, but now she's a tour guide. Probably makes more money this way. But she knew her stuff, man. She was good. You got to see the remains of the Temple of Zeus. You got to see the Temple of Hera. What was interesting was that there was that you could see the Greek baths, Roman hot baths, and even priests' residence. You could even buy these 3D glasses where you could see what it looked like back in the day if you
Oh, cool.
wanted as
Oh,
well.
wow. Huh.
Yeah, it was cool. And then they brought you to the stadium where they had like the athletic races, and there was some groups of school kids that were there. And so they let them go. They pretended that they were doing the 100-yard dash, and off they went. And it was really cool kind of seeing them chugging along, and it was really lovely. It was a good destination, half a day. So, and we were able to walk through the town of Olympia as well before our tour. So it was good, very nice. And then our next day was Malta. Have you ever cruised into Malta?
No, I have
It
not.
it's spectacular. It's like it's like cruising into this old medieval town. Quite amazing. We docked in Valletta and took a tour that went to. It was a walking tour, so 90 minutes of just walking to a fort, to some gardens. You went to see the views overlooking the harbor. One of the most stunning interiors is at St. John's Cathedral. On the outside, it's surprisingly plain, but on the inside, it's overwhelming, like gold and detail art everywhere. Seeing works of masters. And then you were able to drive by the Rotunda of Masta, which is a dome, which is just absolutely enormous, one of the largest in Europe. And it was, you can hear the history because Malta, for a short time was bombed quite a bit. So you got to hear about the history of the war
Hmm.
and how it affected it and so on. But a beautiful destination to visit. Today we docked back in Sicily, so kind of a round trip for me in Catania. And we deliberately didn't plan anything because we've enjoyed Sicily and
Hmm.
it was a good day. We did, leave the ship, and there was a hour hop on, hop off little bus that we took just to see the highlights and so on. But um, so far, this is what we've experienced on the cruise. Tomorrow is Naples, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah,
sounds very exciting. Now, you said the Sapphire Princess is full. Does it seem
yes.
crowded, though? Like, do they do a good job of making sure it doesn't seem overly crowded with lineups for, I don't know, food or something?
The only time I actually saw it, we have booked reservations in the restaurant in the Santa Fe
Hmm.
restaurant, but last night we came back too late for that reservation, so we just went up to the buffet, and or yeah, it's a buffet, and it wasn't crowded as much as it was like line up for the main hot meal area.
Hmm.
But because everybody was coming back at the same time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's lots of places to eat. Like you can go very simply, and there's like a sandwich bar and soup and sandwich bar you can go to. You can go where they have like you can just get pizza on its own or burgers, fries, and hot dogs.
Mm.
You could go to the specialty restaurants and such. So to answer, generally no, there's not a huge lineup.
Oh, good.
Um, but sometimes I have to tell you, sometimes families leave their kids at one table and they go to another table far, far away.
Yes.
And then the kids are like, they're not my kids.
Yeah.
Pipe down over there. But
Mind your manners. You're in a public space.
yes, you can tell I'm old. Mind your manners. it's all lovely. Like they were just being kids, kids
Yes,
are kids.
exactly,
Yeah.
right.
And they
Um,
and
we
they
sh-
pay for this.
yes, they're paying customers too.
Yes.
Um, we should also mention our cruise lingo for those who don't know what a tender is. It's when the ship
Right.
doesn't dock and you take some of the lifeboats they bring down and you shuttle back and forth for people that are going, what's a tender?
Yes, that's a very good point. And that is it. We only have on this one, we have two tenders, one in, as I say, in Albania, and the other one is in Croatia at Kotor. So, and that's the next cruise, basically. And you do have to be mindful of that because you have to plan accordingly. If you're doing the destination on your own, plan to get, because a lot of times people who are on shore excursions, they are brought to the tender, but you have to go get a ticket to get on the tender and then go on the tender in your time slot.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I was also curious too, when you say a back-to-back cruise, it's a different itinerary on your next one, right? It's not doing the same one over again, right?
No, the only real duplicate is basically Rome because it starts and ends in Rome for
Mm-hmm.
both cruises. And then they do have, we are going back to Naples just before we end the cruise next week. But it is going to be an interesting one. We're going to Corfu, Dubrovnik, Kotor, and then Naples, and then back to Rome. So one of the things I do want to make sure everybody knows is and I think I did say it, it's like a 50-minute to 80-minute transfer. So again, make sure you realize you just don't hop off the ship. Like, in Vancouver, it's pretty easy to get from Vancouver Airport to Canada Place, right? Here, you have to make sure you plan it properly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good to know. Good stuff. Looking forward to hearing more about your cruise and the Sapphire Princess. Onanta Forbes is a travel expert. You can follow her on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. You can see some of the images from the Sapphire Princess and some of the places that they're stopping in. And her website is onantaforbes.com. Good stuff, Onanta. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the Informed Traveler Podcast. I'm Randy Sharman. Just want to remind you of our website, theinformedtraveler.org. That's where you can find our contact page if you have any questions or comments about the podcast. You can also email me, too, with any questions you might have. My email address is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. And you can check out our social media pages, too, at facebook.com/informedtraveler, Instagram at Informed Traveler, or on X at Informed Traveler. That's where you'll find a number of videos and reels from our adventures throughout the year and audio clips from our past shows. Plus, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter. It's released at the beginning of every month. Our March issue is available now. Just go to our website, theinformedtraveler.org, click on the newsletter button, and it'll take you right there. Or better yet, subscribe to it and have it arrive in your inbox each month. So let's dive into the world of dark tourism now and talk to the author of a new book called Vacations Can Be Murder, a true crime lover's travel guide to the mid-Atlantic states. It's the second of a multi-volume series covering the U.S. and beyond for those who enjoy reading about true crime. The author is Dawn M. Barkley. Her website is vacationscanbemurder.com, and she joins us now. Hi, Dawn.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for doing this. I think this falls into the realm of that dark tourism sort of idea, and I think, I'll just speak for myself, but I think a lot of people just have this sense of intrigue when it comes to crime and dark tourism and travel. Do you find that?
I did. I felt that this book would appeal to not only people who are interested in true crime, but also tombstone travelers, because I list where all the perpetrators as well as the victims were buried, as well as people interested in the paranormal, because I list haunted restaurants and hotels in all the states I talk about, as well as anything with a crime or justice related theme. And it could also appeal to, I know there's some group of people who love to drive by prisons. And I list many of the prisons in each state, especially if they relate to any of the crimes that I discuss.
Well, there's a lot of information that would have to go into this. You've done a lot of work. Tell me just the workload that goes into doing this.
Yeah, it takes me about 6 months to finish a book, and that's pretty much 6 solid months. I've gotten it down to 3 weeks to a month per state, and then I take a full month to do fact check.
So you got it down to an art now, right?
Pretty much. I mean, this is my second volume of what I think is going to be about 12. And yeah, it seems to work out that way because I have a limited amount of space as well. My publisher likes to keep it to about 80,000 words. And so I have to make decisions in what I'm going to cover. Not every crime. I laugh that your favorite serial killer might not be here, and I apologize, but I have to make choices in the New York section. If you didn't kill 4 or 5 people, you probably weren't getting it.
You're not good enough. You don't make the cut.
Yeah.
And I know, and on the one hand, like we're chuckling about it, but it does involve people dying and that side of the story as well. So you got to respect that too, I would think, right?
Absolutely. And I recognize that this is not the most pleasant of subject materials, but there are people who read this stuff and they're really interested in this and they want to be where the crimes happened. And I did create certain boundaries for myself. For example, the heart of the book are the itinerary sections where I give you the exact locations where the crimes happened in case you want to be in those locations. However, if it's a private house, I'm not giving you the exact house number. I'm giving you the street. So I'm telling you it's like the 1 to 100 block of Main Street. I'm not telling you it's 123 Main.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people gawking outside houses. I don't want to let people know who might not know there was a murder in the house and they bought the house not knowing to suddenly find it out. So I have that rule. The other thing I did was at the end of each chapter, I include victim resources. So if, God forbid, you're ever the victim of a crime, you'll know who to turn to.
Well, that's good. So how far back did you go into history? Did you have a cutoff point or that didn't matter? It was sort of based on the intrigue of the story.
Yeah, they were stories that I found particularly interesting. Some of them go back to the 1600s. I have to be able to, I only used crimes where I could get a location. Like, for example, you have the Preppy murders in New York City, where they happen in Central Park. That's not really a good enough location. For me, I'm not going to just send you off to Central Park and you can walk around. I had to have more of a definite location. So that is briefly mentioned, but it's not really included in the itineraries. If something like in the first volume, the Boston Strangler, I had the addresses of all the apartment buildings where he struck. So obviously I'm going to use that. And there are some locations where there were chase scenes where I had the exact addresses of where the car would go, and I give you that so that you could follow that route if you wanted to.
Yeah, this is all about the where of crimes that have happened, right? Not so much the how and the who, but I mean, you do go into that, but it's more about the where. And this is for people that want to do like a self-guided tour. If they're fans of true crime, they can sort of map out where they want to go. Is that the best way to describe how to use this book?
I would. It's great for road trips. But in addition, if I was a tour guide, I certainly want to grab a copy of this because then I could create the tours I was going to run around the itineraries I've already created for you. And if I was a travel agent, I probably want to have a copy of this book so I could give advice for road trips to my clients. So I don't think it's just, and again, if you're into haunted restaurants and hotels and you happen to be in town, you're going to want to pick this up so you know where to eat or sleep.
Now you've just opened up a whole avenue of tour guides now. Just buy a copy of your book and start their own tours.
Well, I think it's a natural. If you're a DMC, inbound tourism, why not have a copy so you can build something around it? There might be somebody who wants to do a meeting that has sort of like team building event or something where they take a tour through New York City and they see some of these, get a bus and make stops at these places or at least pass by.
Mm-hmm. So now, when you say Mid-Atlantic, what areas are you talking about? Obviously, there's New York and
Yeah.
Massachusetts. Those areas.
No,
Give me a geography lesson here.
Massachusetts was in the New England version. There were 6 states for that. The Mid-Atlantic was originally going to be 5 states. I was going to have New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, but I was also going to have Delaware and Maryland. But there was so much crime in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania that I had to sort of relegate those other states to the capital region book. And I also had to cut out all of Western New York. I limited New York to just between the capital, like Albany area, down to Long Island, with the rationale that if you flew into New York City and you based yourself there, you could go to all the different places in day trips and make it work.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't say a lot for the history of those areas when you
I was shocked because I live in New York and I used to live in New Jersey. Like I sent my kid to camp in Pennsylvania, not knowing any of this.
So, like, what if you must have come across some interesting stories? What are some of your favorite spots? Like, if I had to, narrow it down to just a couple, what would be your favorites? Or do you have any? I know it's asking, like, do you have a favorite child kind of thing?
Yeah. It's very hard to say favorite because that makes it sound like these are really like, it's not like going to Tahiti and saying it's my favorite island.
Right. Yeah.
But I really I went in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. I went to the Eastern State Penitentiary, and that's open for tours. And I found that fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely worth a stop. And while you're in Philadelphia, even though it's not crime related, it's macabre. I recommend the Mutter Museum because it's just fascinating. I took my kids there because I'm Mother of the Year. Like bottles of brains and things. I mean, really unusual things because it's sort of like a physician's museum of oddities. Mm-hmm. They love it. They still talk about that. So I sort of recommend that wherever I can. There are some really interesting true crime tours that you can take because I talk about that as well. Like where you can go with a detective in New York City in their car and drive around and hear stories. Yeah. And there was even like a very occasionally given event. I think it's called Shawshank D, where it's like a cocktail party in a prison where you're trying to escape. So there were things like that I found I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But that's really sporadically given. I list it, but I also say, really check because it may not be given when you want to go.
Yeah.
But, there are ghost tours. There are restaurants that are either former prisons that you can eat in a former jail cell. In Boston, I know it's not this book, but it is the New England book. There's a hotel called the Liberty Hotel that used to be the Charles Street Jail. And they kept some of the brick walls and things from the original jail. So things like that I find are really interesting. There's also, I think it's in Collingwood, New Jersey, there is a restaurant that was run by a former member of the mafia who sort of went to jail for several years, took up cooking, and then came back and opened a restaurant with the with a mafia theme. So things like that, I think, are really very interesting.
I think so too. I think that's sort of the intrigue that people get when they want to do combine crime and crime scenes and travel and all that stuff that falls under that dark tourism thing. Sounds like there's an endless supply of stories though and places to visit though. Like yes. I don't think you're going to have any trouble following up with the more volumes of Vacations Can Be Murder.
And I'm sure California is going to get its own volume. Florida might get its own volume. There are states in the Midwest that I don't know until I start researching them how much there's going to be. So that's why I think it's yeah. I can't put a definite number on how many volumes this might go.
And as you pointed out too, some of the places that you mentioned in your books are open for tours, like some of the museums and some of the prisons and things like that, right?
Yeah, and there are police museums, quite a few of them in New Jersey, as a matter of fact, where if you have a kid who's really into, wanting to go into law enforcement, they can learn all about it. There are several. Just like when you're in Massachusetts and Connecticut, again, the former volume, but if you want to learn about the witch trials, there's certainly a lot of information. People don't realize in Hartford there were witch trials as well. So, there's always something horrible around about crime or murder that you can throw yourself into.
That's a good way of putting it. There's always something horrible around.
I might sound a little
I'm a history buff, and I just find, stories of the past, whether they're crime stories or whatever, it always involves an intriguing story, and I just find it very fascinating.
Yes, I find history really fascinating as well.
Where do people get the book? When is the book coming out?
Well, this book the second volume came out at the end of January, and it is available wherever you buy your books online. Some nice people might actually stock them, but it's so hard to get any sort of shelf space in, brick and mortar bookstores, but you always can get them if you want to patronize your local independent bookstore, which I really promote. You can certainly go to bookshop.org and order the book. I believe they also now sell digital, so you can download the Kindle version if you want, or you can the ebook version, or you can buy the paperback. Amazon, obviously, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, wherever you get books online. But I also really urge people to contact their local library and request the book, because then everybody can read it, and it's very affordable that way.
Exactly. Dawn M. Barkley is a travel writer, author of many books, including her multi-volume series, Vacations Can Be Murder. The latest one is the Mid-Atlantic, and you can look for more down the road, I'm sure, because it's a never-ending supply of stories, is what I found out. VacationsCanBeMurder.com is the website. It was a real pleasure chatting with you, Dawn. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And that is our show for this week. If you have comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a show idea, send that along as well. My email is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. And if you like what you heard, tell a friend. You can check out our website too at theinformedtraveler.org. In the meantime, thanks for listening, travel safe, and be an informed traveler.